I had to figure out, who am I? What are my whys? What am I here for? What's my purpose here? I think you really helped flesh a lot of that out. I'm a nurse, I'm a husband, I'm a family man. I'm so thankful that I've been able to be blessed with this opportunity.
You're a diabetic. You can't do this. You're married. You're not able to do this. You're still going through school and you have to do all this and you have to only sleep on 2 hours. It all adds up, but you're not supposed to do it, but somehow you just do it. And then now look at where you're at.
I had every excuse to give up on life. I was diagnosed with this disease that I knew a little bit about, thankfully, to school, but I didn't really truly understand what it meant.
You're 25. You just came in. You're going to make more money than a lot of these reps by the time you're 26, 27. They've been in for 8 years. They're going to hate you. The nurses that you meet at the hospital will do the same. When you say you used to be a nurse, you just smile and say, okay, thanks.
You just popped up at the perfect time. I just decided to invest in myself. It was a big investment, but I knew that it was going to be worth it. Get a mentor, people. This guy's the guy. If it's not him, it's got to be somebody else. Just grab somebody that you can learn from.
Nobody who's above you, doing better than you, crushing it, and feels good about themselves is going to tell you that you suck. We do it on the daily because I know we can. Welcome back to New to Medical Device Sales. I am your host, Jacob McLaughlin, and today we are bringing you a guest who is going to be extremely encouraging to many of you. Today, we have the pleasure of having New to Medical Device Sales member Noah Donovan, who is 25 years young, has only an associate's degree, and was able to break into medical device sales with not one, but got 2 offers with massive med device companies, and was only a nurse for 6 months. And now he is in with his dream company, making the money that he only wished he could. And we are now going to have a conversation so he can share his insight, his journey, and hopefully give you some tips that will help you. So Noah, welcome to the podcast, my man.
Dude, thank you so much for having me, Jacob. It's going to be a blast. I'm so excited to have a conversation with you and just talk about the wins and the struggles. And it's been a crazy last little while, but we're here and I'm so happy to be here.
It's definitely been a whirlwind, but the one thing I just want to start off the podcast is, we were talking a little bit off air, but I always just say to you is how proud I am of you, because guys, why we do these podcasts, why I get so excited is, I remember my call with Noah. The concern was, hey, I have an associate's degree. I don't have a bunch of experience. Do you think it's possible? And the conversation is, heck yeah, it's possible, man. It's going to happen. Now, it may take a little bit of time, but it's going to happen. Now, the one thing I'll just sit here and tell you is to watch him come in and have companies fighting over him that are both in the top 25 of largest med device companies out there and wanting him. And then also, again, hearing by many colleagues that you have to have years and years experience. And you didn't even have 6 months experience in nursing.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't come in and have the position that you're at where the OT is at over 6 figures, which is amazing. I just want to tell you how proud I am of you, because you didn't listen to the naysayers, to all the people who have been in the industry and said it's impossible with an associate's degree, or all the people who say, oh, you don't have the exact experience, and that you were able to go make it happen for you and your family. And now your life's changed. And I just want to say, again, proud of you. But what I really want to start off with, man, is give us a little more detail on, who is Noah? Who do we have the pleasure of getting to learn from today?
Noah is still trying to be figured out. No, I have been on a journey of figuring out who Noah is, and you have ultimately helped me with that, Jacob. That's been the whole thing, right? At the beginning of these 6 months, I had to figure out, who am I? What are my whys? Like, what am I here for? What's my purpose here? And I think you really helped flesh a lot of that out. At the end of the day, yeah, I'm a nurse, I'm a husband, I am a believer, I'm a family man, and I'm somebody who wants to give. And ultimately, I'm so thankful that I've been able to be blessed with this opportunity. Yeah, I'm a nurse, I'm a type 1 diabetic, I'm all these things, right? And this is all part of my story. I really, really fell into the love for medical device when I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and what drove me to ultimately network. And yeah, and I saw you on YouTube. You just popped up at the perfect time. And yeah, no, I just decided to invest in myself. It was a big investment, but I knew that it was going to be worth it, and I was ready to work. And ultimately, it got me where I am today. And yeah, so I'm just happy to be here, and yeah, that's a little bit about who I am. I mean, I'll go into my story as well, but yeah,
Oh
it's
yeah.
been great.
You're well, first off, living the dream, man. Second off, like again, guys, just hope you know that when you hear Noah talk about is like, believer, hungry, family man, like wanting to make a difference. Like those are the people we love working with. And guys, I just put this out there. I've made it very verbal lately. We've been flooded with applicants, which I am so thankful for. There was somebody who was not so happy that we did not take them. And I'm just always very straight up that we are very selective of who we take. As you can see, as someone Noah is, like that's who we want to work with. And I just say that to everyone. That's never us being mean or judgmental. It's just we're at a point where we want to work with a certain amount of people or certain people. And we have very good feelings of who we want to work with and the qualities they all bring. And the number one thing is being able to help people. And we'll talk a little bit about who you are and how you've been able to do that, but also that you put family first, man. That you again after what you believe, like family comes, and that's a big thing for me. Is I've always told people is I want to work with people who want to make a difference in this world and are doing it for a reason, right? I always make the joke, no shade to anyone who wants a Rolex or a Lambo. It's great. I can just sit here and tell you in Scottsdale, many of the people I know who have those things lease them and they do month-to-month payments, barely can pay their rent. But that's neither here or there. The reason I'm just sitting here telling you is I say this to you guys is because we love working with people who want to make a difference, right? And you did that, man, and it's why you're here, right? But
Yeah.
what I want to rewind a little bit to is tell us a little bit about your journey of like what got you into nursing, right? Because we get a lot of nurses that want to break in, but the best part is you guys, if you've watched, like you'll talk about Tyler and some of our other people, is like we've had nurses who have 5, 10 years experience, and we've had Noah who just graduated and didn't even have 6 months experience be able to break in. And so can you just kind of touch base about what got you into nursing? And then let's talk about after that is you only had an associate's degree. So what made you do the associates and not go for that bachelor's in nursing?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of people might be like, "Oh, you were a nurse, you were diagnosed." Some of the timelines are kind of not don't make sense, right?
Yeah.
So I was in healthcare for 5 years. I wanted to help people. I wanted to serve in that way. And nursing is a great career for that because you have so many branches that you can go through.
Yeah.
And it's just proven by what I've done now. You can go into medical device from it. It's so translatable, right? So I got married to my wife during nursing school. I originally went into associate's degree program because I knew that we were going to get married during school. I wanted to stay out of debt. And
Smart.
we ultimately decided that that was going to be best. 2 years, get in, get in, get in, get out. And yeah, it was great. It was stressful getting married and learning each other and all the jazz, but we got through it and ultimately made us stronger. Third semester of nursing school, I almost lost my life. It was last July. I went into DKA, medical emergency. I was not at home. We were on the road. It was one of the hardest things that I've ever had to go through in my life. It was one of the
Mhm.
hardest things. It was the hardest thing that my wife and I had to go through. And but little did I know that this was going to set the course for where my passion truly is now.
Mhm.
And I was diagnosed. I had to take a break from school. It affected my schooling. And I knew in my head right then and there, after I was set up with a medical device with a diabetes company, that how can I help others the way that I've been helped myself through
Yep.
the hardest time. The device that I use now changed my life, and I use it every day. It's a pump. It automatically checks my glucose. It's everything. Like it just changes my life. It's so easy, right?
Yep.
And like I always have to have like, little like sugar pills next to me or whatever. But
Yep.
like, look, man, it's great. Like I love it. I'm so proud and happy to be a diabetic. Ultimately, that changed the course of who I knew that I wanted to be in the future. And it kind of gave me a dilemma because my wife is like, "You're in school. Like, what are you do? Like, what are we gonna do? Like, don't quit nursing." And I'm like, "Yeah, you're right, you're right." So we prayed about it, we prayed about it, and then I came across your program on YouTube. And one of the first videos I saw was Tyler Lyons, and I don't know if others who are going to see this podcast have seen him, but if you haven't, watch that video.
It's
Um,
amazing. And he's an amazing guy who's
he
very similar
is.
to you, just a little older, but very wise and great family man, Christian dude, like awesome dude. So shout out Tyler if you're listening to this. You're the best.
Yeah, Yeah, Tyler, you have everything that I have, except I'm not wise and you are. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No, but he's great. He's a cool guy. I trusted you. You talked about your faith.
Mhm.
I'm a family man. Faith, I believe in God. I have gone to church my whole life. My wife is too, and that was ultimately who I showed her that video, and she was like, "Oh yeah, he's a Christian. He understands." So, yeah, she trusted you too, and we just did it, and it was the best decision I ever made. And during this time, it was just the end of nursing school when I had joined the course,
Yep.
and I was trying to juggle final exams with your classes, and I'm like, and my head is in medical device, but then half my head is in school, and I'm like, what
Yep.
do I do? So ultimately, I passed school, and I was already working in a cardiac ICU,
Yep.
which is where I am now until I start in about a month.
Yep.
And yeah, and I just was like, I'm going to continue to stay on this course with nursing until I break in. And I networked and networked and networked. And I took a little bit of break of the networking because I was trying to, focus on my like orientation
Yep.
and trying to juggle all those things because it's difficult, right?
Yes.
Orientation in nursing is in a lot of ways more difficult than school itself because
Yes.
now you're dealing
100%.
with the real people. It was just a lot of stress, but I didn't make excuses. I kept pushing. There were days when I had nights and I'd wake up at 5 p.m., go to work, wake back up in the morning and then have an interview that same day when I woke up, like when I came back from work at 7 a.m.
Yep.
at 12 p.m. So I had maybe 2 hours of sleep and then I'd go to an interview. And it was just a lot.
Yeah.
So I got through it and yeah, every single thing that I've heard, in office hours and when I could go to office hours
Yeah.
and from the talks that I've had with you and Roxy and honestly other reps too that have given me advice is just it was so helpful and it
Yeah.
ultimately got me where I am. So yeah, here we are today. And yeah, it's been a whirlwind. It really has
Yeah,
been.
man. Well, first off, I love it because the reason I just had you go in a little more detail about that is like, again, we get a lot of nurses that are reaching out to us or even like nursing students that reach out to us. And it's because, again, you guys all get into wanting to help people, right? But I say this on every podcast and I've worked with so many nurses. The normal things that I hear is, hey, I'm capped on hours. I really have to just take more shifts if I want to make more money. A lot of times I don't get treated the nicest by either the patients or even the other staff or the doctors or whatever it is. And I'm really at a career stump because like I could go maybe take after they have some experience a managerial role, but the responsibility is way more and the money is usually not matching it. And so they feel stuck. But many of the people, again, we work with nurses that we've helped break in, they just know they're meant for more. Because the one thing I'm just going to call out real quick is I was talking to Noah about this off air is, for some reason the hospital and especially the nursing culture is like the crab in the bucket culture. It's if you want to do better, we're actually going to be very rude to you. We're being mean to you, and we'll also tell you you can't do it because
Mm,
we can't do it. I can just tell you guys, there's a lot of industries that people become stagnant. And I watched nurses where a lot of the nurses we get, they're like, Jake, I don't want to be at the same place for 40 years. We just watched retirement. I don't want that. That's number one. But number two that I see there is, I've worked with a lot of nurses. I've worked with people who they just don't believe in themselves, that they don't believe they can do it. So when you try to go do it, they're going to grab you and they're going to say, you can't do this. You're not good. But deep down, all the nurses like yourself and others we've worked with, they knew they were worth it. And now y'all work half the amount that they're going to work and you're going to make more and your career trajectory just went up like crazy, right? And so
mm,
the reason I'm just saying that is I just want to put that as a to every nurse out there is like number one, we see you. Usually when I say that they're like, are you reading my mind? Because I know the pain points we've talked to enough. But number two is it is possible. You're to hear from a lot of nurses that it's not. Um, you'll talk about your story, Noah, where nurses were like, you have to have a bunch of experience and you
yeah.
got jobs that they could never get. So the reason I'm just saying that is I just put that out there because nurses make great people in med device sales. Again, PTs, OTs, SLPs, nurses. The clinical experience is great. You just have to be able to show how it can carry over and do that spot. But I just want to put that out there for someone because I think it's a huge point to many nurses feel discouraged. When I talk to many nurses, they don't want to feel like they've wasted their degree. right? They don't want to feel like they paid all this money. Now they're not using the degree. But number two is they also just feel like, oh my gosh, if I, like, for example, many people, and I said this to you on our call, is many nurses who join us, they think they quit their job that day. And they're like, no, it's like, no, you still have to go do your shifts and you still have to like wake up and do the interviews. Like it's time, but
Yeah.
we always say that. But one thing, can I have you just kind of talk about real quick, Noah, is you talked about getting married and all the stuff, but you talked about, here's the big thing. You had an associate's degree.
Yeah.
You could have gone and got a
Yeah.
4-year degree, right?
Yeah.
But what actually changed you from not getting a 4-year degree in nursing and doing the associates and then joining a program like ours to be able to help you? Because again, you could go take that same money and invest it into college, right? And do a 4-year degree for nursing.
Sure.
What made you at that 2-year mark getting the associates being like, which just want to say very smart to not go in debt and do the 2-year route. But when it comes into what helped you make that decision of like, I'm gonna go do this instead of go get a 4-year degree like everyone says I have to do?
There's one thing in life that you can't get back, and it's time.
Yep.
And if there was any amount of money, and this goes to anybody else, if there's any amount of money that anybody could spend on themselves, would you not try and buy yourself time? We have a very finite time on this earth, and for me, what ultimately allowed me to just go right into the program and stick and just not continue. I mean, I may very well go back and go to school and finish a
Yeah,
bachelor's
of
if I'd
course.
like, but
And
that's a choice that I have now, not
and
a
also a lot
requirement.
of times med device companies will help pay for that. Just out there
Yeah,
for
that's true.
education. Right?
I get help from the company that I'm going to now with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, I think the whole principle there is that I knew that this was something that I wanted to do. Why am I going to waste my time and effort doing schooling for a career that I don't feel that I'm passionate for anymore
Mhm.
at this time, at the time that I was in and still at this time. Now, do I love caring for people and do I love, aspects of it? Yes, absolutely. It's not about that. I'm just talking about overarching where my goals are, where I see my family.
Yeah.
It's more than money, it's giving too. And getting money, it's giving money.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
for me, I just felt that if there was a way that I could buy myself time back, then I'm gonna do it. And when I saw your course, I saw the success stories of people that didn't have degrees, like just like me. Didn't some people didn't even have any degrees, and I know
Yep.
that's difficult, but I knew that that would be a hard thing for me to do. But
Yep.
if it was possible, I was going to invest, and I
Yep.
did it, and that was ultimately what allowed me to convince even myself that this was the right move. Because
Yeah.
I don't want to be a nurse for, if I knew, I think a lot of people just like are stuck because they're comfortable.
After helping thousands of people break into medical device sales, we've received a lot of messages of asking for more personalized coaching and mentorship. Our average member breaks in 8.5 weeks at over $105,000. And if you're really interested and really motivated to break into medical device sales, you can click the link below or check out our website at newtomedicaldevicesales.com. See all the testimonial videos of people breaking in with Medtronic at over $170,000, at Abbott $175,000 as a full line rep. So if you're really excited and also motivated and wanting personalized coaching and mentorship, then go and click the link below, schedule a call, and we'll get you where you want to go. Enjoy the rest of the episode.
The comfortability, and I've had coworkers tell me that. I'm like, oh, when are you getting out? What are you doing after this? They're like, I want to go here. I just like the comfortability. And like, I never saw myself, and I could never even understand how people thought that way. And that's
Yep.
okay.
That's okay.
Some people that
We're all
work.
different. Yep.
We're all different. But like for me, I didn't align with that. And so I knew that if I was going to get out of my comfort zone, it was going to mean spending money and time into going into an industry that I knew nothing about with people that I knew no, like I didn't know any people in it at
Yep.
first, but I knew that for me it was going to be worth it. And ultimately that was just because I didn't want to waste my time.
Yeah.
I don't want to waste time. Like
Yep.
I'm very efficient. I try to be efficient. And so for me, I was like, let me just do this. And it paid off. And it will
Yeah.
pay off. If you put in the work, it will pay off. I'm somebody, if I can do it, seriously, if I can do it, I'm not the smartest person in the world. I'm not like the best looking. I'm not like this, that, the other. Like it doesn't matter. Compare yourself all you want. But if I can do it, then you can do it. And I truly believe that. I know I went on a little bit of a tangent, but I
I
just
love
wanted
it.
to go all that to say, like, those were all the biggest reasons why I was just like, no, I'm not going to do bachelor's. I'm going to
Yeah.
just do this now and make it quick. And it worked. and it
I
paid
love
off
it.
in the end.
I love it, man. And what I want to just touch base on that is first off, you did a lot of great things, and that's why you're where you're at. So don't discard yourself there.
No,
But
no, absolutely.
but the one thing I do want to just say this is, guys, this is why we exist and why we do what we do is, I was telling him, like I said, the person who I didn't go, who just so you guys know was a nurse and traveled and said they had all this money, which is fine, but they just weren't a good fit for us, right? And they didn't like that, and they put some comments and stuff. And the reason I'm just saying this to everybody out there is, you know, for me, you are the people who come and talk trash about us. Are like, oh, you can't break in at associate. It's fake to come in at six figures. It's all this. It goes back to, I used to say this. I haven't said it in a year, and I'm gonna say it today. Eagles don't fly with pigeons, right?
Mm.
A bunch of pigeons say you can't fly that high, and an eagle soars up pretty quickly. Also, the pigeons are gonna go hit their head against the ground to get birdseed. An eagle is actually eating salmon out of the a river. What we do, why we do these podcasts, why we do everything for free is just to show you it's possible. No matter what your background is and no matter where you're at, it's possible. And let me promise you, you're going to go talk to Rick or Jesse, who's been in med device sales for 8 to 10 years, and they're going to say it's impossible. And they're going to be like, well, this guy helps people get in at over six figures. It's impossible. But yet every week we just show you it's possible. And so the reason I just want you guys to hear my heart, don't need a dollar from you, don't want a dollar from you. Hope these free podcasts help the heck out of you guys and you can use it, right? You see this, like if you're nurses, we have ones with Jonna, we have ones with Tyler, like go watch those. But the reason I'm just sitting here and telling you is we truly just want to help you. But number two is like when we do our coaching, when we work with people, it's literally just to be like, we know you can get there. You don't even know you can get there, but we know you can get there. The same people who will tell you that you guys suck, that you're underqualified, that you need to go work B2B, that you need to do all this stuff, are the same people telling you it's not possible. And then are the same people who are going to be rude to you on the calls to make themselves feel better about their ego. I can say that because I live it on the daily. We were talking about off air is like he got in 25 associate's degree, all this stuff. He's at a big company. I told him, get ready, man. I broke in at Medtronic. I was the young kid. I got lucky. Oh, then I was the top 10 performer. Oh, I must be lucky. I must be this. It's all this. Oh, now I go and be a regional manager. Oh, you didn't really earn this. Like the people are going to talk. I had this talk with the people inside of our program and the people that we mentor. And it's nobody punches down. Nobody who's above you, doing better than you, crushing it, and feels good about themselves is going to tell you that you suck, that it's impossible for you to do it, that you can't, right? We do it on the daily because I know we can. And like for me, if we want to uplift and just want to just put this out there right now, I'm so jacked. We have a girl in our program who is deaf. She literally couldn't hear until 2 years ago. She's in 3 interview processes. And it just gets me jacked because of all the people who will say it's impossible for her and all the people who put her down and all this stuff. But it's up here. And so we just want to put that out there. And so the reason I say that, man, and I appreciate you saying that, Noah, is to everyone out there, like, yeah, you're not supposed to break in with an associate. You're not supposed to do this. You're not supposed to be in the positions. You're a diabetic. You can't do this because you have this. You're married. You're not able to do this. You're still going through school and you have to do all this and you have to only sleep on 2 hours. It all adds up, but you're not supposed to do it. But somehow you just do it. And then now look at where you're at. Right. Yeah. And so I just want to put it out there. And also, just so you guys know, the last thing I want to say is I speak a certain way and talk a certain way. I know I am not for everybody, and I am okay with that. And when we talk this way, we're not a fit for a lot of people, and that's okay. And I told Noah, I said, I had a mentor tell me this a long time ago, and I'm going to share it out there for some people, and hopefully it's encouragement for you all, is he told me, find out who your haters are, and then you label who those are. Don't let them just come and get you. And like for me, it's like we don't do well with lazy people who want things handed to them, who aren't motivated, who play the victim. Every single person that I just mentioned are the people who will be like, screw that guy, all this stuff, or the reps that I've been in for 7 years and I don't make 150. And it's like, well, great, Greg, that's a you problem, not an us problem. And the reason I'm just saying that is the same thing I talked to Noah. I said, hey, man, you're 25. You just came in. You're going to make more money than a lot of these reps by the time you're 26, 27. They've been in for 8 years. They're going to hate you. And they're going to make backhanded comments. And guess what? The nurses that you meet at the hospital will do the same when you say you used to be a nurse and all this stuff. But you just smile and say, okay, thanks. All right. Because that's what it is. And so I just want to put that out to anybody because, again, I know even when you guys are nurses or in that position to want to make a change, you're going to get resistance from a lot of times family. You're going to get resistance from the people that are closest, friends. They're going to get resistance from other human beings inside their life or coworkers because of what you made in that decision. I always tell people when they join us is it's extremely scary and exciting. And why that is, it's scary because it's a big investment. But it's also the first time you've invested in you, right? That's why it's really big, scary. Number two, though, why it's so exciting is you're finally stepping out to decide I'm not this person anymore and I'm becoming a new person. I'm going to be a new person. I'm going to make a different kind of amount of money. I'm going to have a different lifestyle. I'm going to have a different work-life balance. And the people, like I can sit here and tell you, my family, they didn't understand. My closest friends, who I was close friends with 5 years ago, very minimum of amount of friends that are from that pool. Not being rude, not being mean. It's because they still wanted to drink beer, be out in a cornfield and make 65K and complain about the world and talk about how bad California sucks, even though they never left the Midwest. And I was like, I don't want to be around that. And you just continue to elevate and get around people. And that's why I'm so proud of you, but the people we have is we only want people who want to get better, right? And so go through it. All right. So now I went on my little ramble and a little tangent, but now I want to bring it back to you, man. Talk about this process because you said it wasn't easy. Talk about this process of you being like, hey, I'm in school. I am working. I'm getting onto onboarding. And now I'm trying to break into medical device sales while being married, while being diabetic, like all the stuff.
Yeah.
Share a little bit about that journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what I really wanted to touch on, and it's gonna go into the answer too. When you talked about people who play the victim, I had every excuse to give up on life. And throughout this journey, and I don't mean that like in a like willy-nilly way. I mean that like literally like was I was an athlete growing up. I played soccer my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
I was, in my mind, I was healthy, went to the gym, doing all this stuff. And I was diagnosed with this disease that I knew a little bit about, thankfully, to school, but I didn't really truly understand what it meant. And I think I want to touch on like my journey starting there with with where I am as a type 1, because that's what ultimately got me, I think, here. And a big part of that, when I ate dinner with my wife that first week, that whole first week, coming home and eating dinner with my wife and us sitting there and then praying together. And it makes me emotional thinking about, but and I get ready to eat and I have to put a needle in me, like, or else I'm gonna die, And for me, I had a choice, like I was like, what's my purpose here? Like where do I go from here? And I could have sat on my butt, played video games, wallowed in TV shows, ate a bunch of Cheetos, not cared about what was going on, stopped going to the gym, not like let go of my relationship with my wife because it's all about me. Or, I could have taken it as an opportunity that God was trying to tell me that, hey, your purpose is greater than what you even originally thought.
Yeah.
And got up, adapted, planned in a way that was going to allow me to be successful, and ultimately utilize what was once a disease now as a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
And all of that, all of those things I just said, comes from not being a victim.
Yep.
I've been told, like, even during orientation, I was told by a preceptor that I was playing a victim in a certain circumstance. And I have no issue with that. But I know for a fact that I'm not a victimizer. And that's what brought me where I am now.
Yep.
And I think like that is one of the most important things.
Yep.
And guess what? If you're a jealous type, I am too. I get jealous of other people. I get jealous of other people's success and what they have and all these different types of things. But guess what? That's also a big thing that keeps you down. Jealousy does not leave room for growth. There's a big reason why it's talked a lot about in the Christian community about being careful with jealousy, because that drags you down.
Yep.
And so for me, that's a victim mentality. Being jealous is a victim mentality. You're victimizing yourself into thinking that you don't have it all, you don't have the opportunity, and these people are lucky. When in reality, you can just get up and work and not make excuses and utilize things that you have. And that's what I had to do. And it all started there, Jacob, like with that disease and my struggles that I had to go through, and then
Yep.
getting married. And I was diagnosed a year after, we got married. We were
Yeah.
trying to figure each other out, let
Yeah.
alone a diagnosis,
Yeah.
and then school and all these things. So, I had excuse over excuse over excuse over excuse. But ultimately, I'm sitting here right now, and that was a big part of my journey, was understanding and learning about myself, that how much victimizing situations can put a damper on your growth as a person, your growth in your community, and
Yep.
ultimately your growth in a career.
Yep.
And I just want to sit here and say that we all have excuses. We all go through difficult things, and I'm not discounting other people's problems and things that they go through. Sometimes there are people that are worse than you. Actually, there's
Yep.
always it could always be worse.
Yep.
I just wanted to touch on that because you talked about that,
Yeah.
victimizing. And I
Yeah.
think that is a big part of it, and
Yep.
not making excuses.
Yep.
So yeah, man, I think that that was my biggest learning opportunity throughout this whole process.
Yeah.
And going to school and being able to do all of that was just all kind of like parts in the cog in the wheel that allowed me to be able to get where I am. And yeah, it's been great. And I did want to just say, like, that's probably my biggest learning, my biggest learning opportunity that I had
Yeah.
throughout this whole process. So
Well, first off, love that. A couple things I would just tell people. My old mentor used to put this on a t-shirt: is comparison is the thief of joy, right? You
mhm,
comparing yourself to other people will take your joy away from it. So
absolutely.
100%. And again, it's I learned this last year, man. And I say this to just everyone out there: is everyone's 10 is their 10, right? And what I had to learn there is like I always used to think like, well, I've gone through this and this and this. But then, being in a relationship and doing other stuff, it's like, well, that's their biggest 10 right now. What they're going through is their 10. And like, so for me, it might be this, but for them, that to me might seem minor, but to them, it's major. Right. And so it's just meeting people where they're at and just loving them through that. So I just want to put some encouragement out there for everyone there.
Yeah.
But yeah, touching base, man. Like, so again, you were balancing all of that stuff. Would you say it was the structure? It was just like, hey, I'm going to school, like there, but also was it like, hey, certain days I'm going to work on it, certain days I'm sending out messages, certain days, because again, that's what I just want people to kind of hear and learn from you is like
Yeah.
we always talk about there's a balance and there's no balance, right? You have to go all in, you got to do stuff, but like if you like, for example, if you're married, you need to stay married. If you're doing school and you're working and you're doing this, like there's going to be days you might not be able to commit every day to this. You might only
Sure.
be able to pick some time. So can you just kind of talk to that point?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's all about time management, right? Like every little task that I had to do, I put in my calendar. If that meant that that was a reminder for me. And I think like ultimately like us as nurses, we usually get our schedules and I'm speaking mainly to the nurses here, but we all get schedules. We all know our schedule, but like for nurses, it can be kind of erratic and difficult to time manage. So we
Yeah.
get our schedules though like a month in advance. So you can find time in between, those shifts and things like that to actually put time into networking and talking with other people and studying or doing whatever. And I had school going on, I had interviews going on for nursing, and then I had the medical device, your course going on. And so for me, ultimately, what helped me was putting things on a calendar and being intentional. I would see it on my calendar and I'd have a choice. I'd say, okay, am I going to do this or am I not? And for a lot of people, they don't even give themselves to have the choice. They just
Yep.
kind of like say, I'm going to do this that day, but don't put it on a calendar. Don't put it on anything.
Yep.
Where's your reminder? When do you ever have the opportunity to even have a choice? You're just going to say no because you
Yep.
don't have it put on your, piece of paper or whatever, on your phone. So for me, being intentional is the biggest thing that allowed me to grow through this process. And that was
Yeah.
actually my wife and I's New Year's resolution last year was being intentional,
Love it.
changed my life.
Yep.
So yeah, so just being consistent and knowing and being honest with yourself, what does my schedule look like? Where can I put these on my schedule? And then how can I mitigate the amount of risk that would allow me to say no? Or, like just making sure that your schedule is completely open during that day.
Yep.
So,
Yep. Well, and just so you know, man, I appreciate you sharing that because I wanted some nurses and some other people who are busy to hear that because a couple of things. Number one, what you just said is the most true is people will always say, I'll do it. I'll get around to it. Honestly, I have family members. They drive me nuts. I'll get around to it. That means you will never actually do it because if you don't carve out time to do it, you will never make time because we're
Yeah.
all busy. You're going to get a
Right.
call from a friend. You're going to get something, and there's always going to be other priorities that come up in life, right? So it is the carving out that time. Number two, what I just want to give some encouragement to my nurses is you said something massive, and it's you had the choice, right? I've said this on podcasts before, but just remember, confidence just comes from keeping promises to yourselves.
Mm.
Every person that I know that's not confident, they always say they will do something, or I will work out, or I will go to the gym, or I will read this, or the people that I know are confident. No, I did wake up at 4:30 every morning when I said I was going to do. I know I did work out. Even when I didn't feel like it, I made myself, even if it was 10 minutes, I did something, right?
Right.
And it's just making that choice. And I say that because you guys like, if you guys go to our website and see, like, my best friend passed away of brain cancer. He was a travel nurse. And I remember going over to his house and he would work all nights and then like he would be off. And so he'd still go to bed he'd stay up till 7 and then he'd go to bed and then wake up at 4 because he's trying to stay on that shift even on his days off and he didn't want to mess it up. And I was like, dude, you're exhausted. He's like, yeah, it messes up your whole like sleep rhythm, how your life energy is. I know, I get it. But that's why like we've had people working, overnights and they're doing this program and doing all this stuff. And what you said is what I want everyone to hear. People will hear be like, man, you slept for 2 hours, then did an interview, then went back to bed for an hour or two, and then worked a night. Like, what? No way. I would never do that. But what people miss is that's not forever,
Mm.
right?
Exactly. I was
It's a
just gonna say
short
that.
term. It's I'm gonna do this for a month or 2 months or 4 months or whatever it is. But eventually it's going to not be this way. And because of that, I'm not going to be working overnights. I'm not going to be doing this. I'm going to be having a better work-life schedule. But what people won't usually do is sacrifice in the short term to have what they want in the long term. And
Exactly.
we talk about this in the program all the time is everything you want is on the other side of hard. It's other on the other side of the things you are avoiding is another way to say it. And the reason I just say that is because again, we get people who are like, I'm going to do this, but then they don't. But also, I always say this, and I say it in the most loving way as being a personal trainer and coming from this world is like, everyone tells me, Jacob, it's hard to like start your business. It's hard to be in sales. It's hard to be fit. It's hard, to be in a good relationship, right? You're 100% right. But it's also hard to be overweight. It's also hard to be broke. It's also hard to be single. It's also hard you can just keep it going. You have to choose what hard you want and
Yeah.
then what's worth the sacrifice to you in the long term and in the short term, right? And I always tell everyone who comes and joins us is like, again, and guys, when I say this even means if you don't ever work with me, like just if you listen to these podcasts and use it and go on your own, like you have to sacrifice in the short term for a
Hmm.
little while to then have long-term gain. And so I just want to say thank you for sharing that, but I wanted nurses and other people to hear it because again, it goes back to, well, when will I have the time and all this stuff? It's something I always used to tell my clients as a personal trainer. And I still live it to this day. Just so you know, where I have to leave after this, and I was up at 5 a.m. again, like usual. And guess what? Not one person cares, and they don't care. Clap hands for me. It's not if I work out, it's when I work out. If that's 5 a.m., 7 a.m., 11 p.m., it doesn't matter when. It's going to happen, right? It's not, well, I think I might, and then you don't, and then you skip 1 day, and then you skip 2 days, and then you skip 3 days, and then the belly gets a little flubbier, and you're like, and then you don't trust yourself as much, and then you're like, oh, I'll say no to that cookie, but then you're eating the cookie, and it all compounds. But you have to make the decision because I've talked about it before, but it's like, what if you just made the decision to start today and not stop? Because the 8 weeks, the 10 weeks, the 3 months, the 6 months, 2025, it is going by either way. The only difference out of that time span is you will either accomplish what you just said you want to accomplish, or you will keep blaming everyone else, playing the victim and saying, well, my job doesn't allow me, or it's too rough. Because just so you guys know, with people that we have in our program that are working full-time jobs, that are married, that usually have multiple kids, that are like, and they still do it, I'm like, there's no excuse, right?
Yeah.
Even for yourself, man. You're going to school, you're working, you have a wife, you're diabetic, all this stuff. There's no excuse. It's just what you want to believe and what you're okay with. And so
Yeah.
first off, I appreciate you sharing that because that's what I wanted people to hear. Now,
Yeah.
I want to continue to give them more actionable steps. I want to hear, you being a nurse and having that nursing background, where do you feel like it helped you the most inside your interview process to get multiple job offers from top companies, even though you don't have the bachelor's degree? Where do you feel like that carryover was of your clinical experience that you could talk to, but then
Sure.
also what are some of the things that you feel like helped you stand out against candidates who had quote unquote more experiences, 4 degrees, all that?
Yeah, I was actually just talking to one of the nurses in the program about this the other day, giving him some of my insight on this aspect too. But I think the biggest thing is being genuine and being yourself.
Yep.
And I've heard people in their podcast say this, but like that's a big part of it. Like, actually, it's all of it. Because if you
Yep.
go in trying to act like somebody that you're not, they not only can other people sense that from you, but when they hire you, you're gonna go get in there and they're gonna be like, "Who is this person? I don't even know him." And it's
Yeah.
like, so like starting there, like that's it, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and it's like that's all of it. It allows me to be more comfortable. It doesn't make me nervous because I know I'm giving you who I am. And if you don't like
Mhm.
that, then we're not a good fit, and I'm out, you know. And that's a big, big, big part of it. I think like honestly, it's got to be more than 50%, but like it really is a big part. Now the other percentages is like preparing, you know, doing your research, making sure that you've talked to all the right people, making sure that you've networked with all the right people, having a business plan together, making sure that you have the 30-60-90 today. I told the interviewer, we were just talking, and in the flow of the conversation, I mentioned a 30-60-90 day. I had my binder right next to me, ready to give it to him. By the end of the interview, I was trying to pitch him to show him my business plan. And he was so impressed just by me saying that I had put together a 30-60-90. He was like, I don't want to see it. Like, don't show it to me. And I was like, and I like made a little joke and I slid it under the table and I said, all right, well, you know, I'm gonna give this to you. You can look at it later. And I just like walked away and he laughed and he was like, huh, and I ended up taking the business plan back. But like, it was funny. Like, you know, he didn't even care. And I think it's just because they want to see that you're willing to put in the work and you're coachable.
Yep.
You're able to learn different concepts
Yep.
and you're optimistic, but at the same time, you're professional.
Come on.
You're ready to still continue to put in the work. And you have to just like, as a nurse, that's all we do. Like, you can't go into like when you like my nurses, you're gonna know this. Like you're gonna and a lot of you have been nurses for longer than me, but I know this just from being a nurse. You get up and then you get to work early. I get to work early, 30 minutes early every day. I get to work 30 minutes early because I have to look at what my assignment is.
Yep.
And I have to prepare what my day's going to look like by looking at what's their, you know, what are the problems that they're having? What can I expect that they need? What assessments should I need to be able to make to be able to talk to the doctors about? What orders do I need? And like that's all of my job is
Yep.
preparing. I mean, not all nurses are going to be as type A as me. I'll say that. But I think the reason why I was so successful in the course is because I took those things, like the preparation and able to see kind of what things could go wrong and what things could go right,
Yep.
and just applying that. And we
Yep.
talk to doctors all the time. Like
Yep.
we know how to talk with doctors. You know, like especially with you nurses that do nurse-led rounds. I did nurse-led rounds. So I'm sitting here with sometimes 6 different fellows. They don't even know what the heck is going on because they're brand new, but
Mhm.
I'm having to present to them how my patient looks.
Yep.
And like that's all we do as a nurse, you know? And like
Yep.
think about and then you have to, you know, your doctors are your coworkers. You have to maintain relationships. You have to talk with them respectfully, but also like know how to kind of like conversate, right? And get to know them. So all of those things are so big and
Yep.
bringing into and translatable into the medical device field. And I figured that out firsthand. You know,
Yep.
because when I told my interviewers that, they were like wowed, you know. And they're just
Yep.
like, okay, I can tell he knows how to talk with these people. If you can do what I did and just translate that, you're golden. You know, you're more than halfway there.
Yeah.
So I think those are that's a little bit of advice that I could probably give like from the day to day of my nursing career translatable into med device.
Just so you know, please, if you're a nurse or anybody, go rewind the last 5 minutes and just re-listen to that 7 more times. Because you nailed it right there, Noah. It's like a couple things. Number one, the genuineness. Like we talk about this all the time. You're selling to salespeople. They can tell if you're ingenuine. Like they can tell if you're not being truly you. That's number one. Number two, just like you said, it's like a relationship. What happens if you date someone and then you're like, okay, let's be just let's be exclusive. And now you're in a relationship, and the person you were dating 2 months ago is now different. They don't do what they say they're going to do. They don't do all this stuff. Well, first off, that relationship's not going to last. Number one. Number two, they're going to be like, what the heck? Bait and switch, right? Just so you know, med device companies are the same way. If you're being somebody and then 3-6 months you're not that person, they're going to get rid of you, or or the manager's not going to like you because you lied to them, and now they can't get rid of you, but it's going to be not a great work environment. So that happens. So I'll just say that, number one. Number two, this is the biggest thing that we try to teach everybody. Every single person who's not in the industry, they're like, oh, Jacob, I'll take any job, just any job, 50K, 60K. And we're like, no, you're worth more than that. You can bring more to the table, right? It's no different than if this is a therapy session for all you or whatever it is. You have to know your value. And let's make this really clear. It's why you hear me say at the beginning, we are not a fit for everyone, and that's okay. Just like Noah, just like me, just like everyone in our member, we're not a fit for every open position in medical device sales, and that's okay. And especially if they're paying only like $60,000, $70,000, please no, leave us alone. The reason I'm sitting here telling you that is you need to know it's okay, and you don't need every offer. It's all this FOMO that gets people in trouble, and anxiety, and oh my gosh, no, I'm going to go through this, and the people are, and like we help you guys see this, but they are either going to see your value or they are not. Because my favorite part is like one of the girls we just got hired, 3 companies are like, no way, we're not doing it. Like, no, here, do this, do that. 2 companies are fighting over her, and they're like giving her more money and more money and more money because they're like, gosh. And right. And like, that's the thing that you all have to understand is you'll never be the right person for the wrong one. Right? It's the same thing. You're never going to be the right candidate for the wrong hiring manager, for the wrong company. And so you have to understand that. And then number 2, no, the advice you just gave on like what to do, translate it. Like, you guys have great experience. If you have clinical experience, translate it. Show them what you've been able to do. Show them how you can talk to doctors. But the one thing that you started with is being prepared. Know how to do the job to get the job, like we talked about. We just talked to one of our guys. He just got into a 4th round interview. He made it from the 3rd to the 4th just because he literally brought a resume. Let me just sit here and put it out there for a lot of people. The bar is so low that if you literally bring a resume, they're like, you're in, right? Like, the reason I'm just saying that is, yes, there's 500 applications that there's coming in. But then when these people actually interview these human beings, hey, did you look at our website? No. Okay. Do you know our mission statement? No. Okay. Do you know our values? No. But you want a job for $100,000, but you didn't take 10 minutes to research us, right? Like, we literally have had hiring managers for that exact reason. Hey, please have your people bring a resume. Well, yeah, no kidding. Of course they're bringing a resume. But they've had plenty of people show up with no resumes. And then what happens, and I just have to shout out all the younger people there, is it's all the people that are under the age of 30. I just got on a call with a girl who's 22 years old who is like, I've gotten every job I've ever applied for, and it's for $60,000. And it's like, yeah, it's $60,000. Anybody can do that. It's literally replaceable. Your entitlement and thinking that because you applied, you deserve a job is the whole reason you don't get to move on in the next round. You just mentioned you didn't believe you deserved anything. You came prepared, and you're keeping conversation, and you're showing. And that's what people have to do. You have to come prepared. You have to do the work. You have to research. Do you know the mission statement? Do you know the values on the company? Do you know the product? Like, it is pathetic. It is absolutely pathetic that all of you that will listen to this podcast will be like, I don't understand what's going on. I lost this interview process. I'm like, oh, who was it with? And they tell me, and then I'm like, oh, what products do they sell? And they're like, oh, I don't know. Well, yeah, no kidding. You didn't move on to the next round. You just did an interview, and you didn't take 15 minutes to look at what you would even be selling. So how could you know if you want to work there and be excited? Because what I need everyone to hear real quick from that, what we teach people, that is like going out on a date, and that person's like, so why are you out on a date with me? And they're like, you're the only one who said yes. Well, that doesn't make that company feel special. You want to hear like, oh, because of this, and you carried yourself this way and all this stuff. It's the same thing with the companies. Yeah, well, I'm with you because, man, you guys are leading in this space. Your product does A, B, C, D. I've been able, like as a nurse, I've worked with it firsthand, got to see how it changed somebody's life. And I've watched your competitors where they did this. And I love that your mechanism does, like, you being able to talk to that, I can guarantee you'll move on in the next round.
Oh, yeah.
Because you just have done the research, and most people, the bar is so low. But like, again, I need to put this really out there for clearness for everyone. The job that's at 60K is way different than the job that's at $100,000+. And you have to prepare way differently. Yes, if you want to break into medical device sales and make $55,000, $60,000 and work 80 plus hours a week, let me make your life easy. Go do trauma.
Mm.
And then those are the same people who have been in for 3 months, want to quit their job, and they didn't think they, I didn't know it was this hard and all the stuff, and they just wanted to be in. And then 2 years later, they're still making $85,000. If you want to take the long end and do that, please go do that. But if you're wanting a job for 6 figures like yourself right away, gotta come to it. And think about this. Would you be willing to sacrifice 1, 2, or 3 extra months to be fully prepped to go get a position at, let's just say, starting at like $100,000? Rather than being like, I just need a job that takes it, and you go take a job for 60K to go be in there for 2 or 3 years to still not make $85,000 after 3 years. Because like Noah said, you only get one thing that we don't get back is time. And that's what many people miss. And so I just wanted to touch on that because Noah, you laid it out perfectly. There's nothing else we can say to anybody. And if they are like, well, still, I didn't get my tangible stuff that they want, it's because you're not listening, right? Like everyone, let me just put this out there. So everyone now is just like, well, Jacob, you're not giving us as much actionable steps. It's like, no, it's actionable. It's called network. It's called get on calls with people, but be prepared with who you're talking to. Know the company, know the values, know what they sell, know the competitors, know what the region is. Do you know anything about them? Know the difference between an associate rep, territory manager, to a full line, or to a regional sales manager, to a hiring manager. Which one is it, right? Do you know what goes on? Do you understand what the steps in the process looks like so you can talk educated and they're like, wow, this person's done their research and I'm talking to someone who is actually worth $100,000 rather than another 23-year-old who's like, so you want to just give me a job? I graduated, I got a degree, so you just want to give it to me yet? And it's why people aren't successful, but yet they don't want to take ownership on maybe I'm not doing everything that is needed to go get that job.
No, absolutely. I think you hit on everything right there, Jacob. I truly like I I think a big thing that maybe a lot of people might be able to take, like when it comes to measurable steps, is like, first of all, be patient with yourself.
Yep.
Like you have to learn, you have to take these things slow. There's a lot. It's like drinking from a fire hose. You're talking with a lot of new people. It's nerve-wracking, this, that, and the other.
It's like learning a new language.
It literally is. It's
Yep.
exactly like learning a new language. And I would just say like make your goal, and I say this to people who I work out with for the first time. Make your goals measurable. Like don't sit there and be like, sure, have your expectations high, have high expectations always. But if you see that you're burning out and you're just like, I don't know what to do, like don't flood yourself with 50 calls or whatever. Like if that's too much for you, then be honest with yourself and slow down. I've had to do that,
Yeah.
you know?
I just have to touch base there. That's so that the
Yeah.
number one thing is we get all these gong ho people and they're like, I'm ready to go. And then we give them the like, hey, do this. And you always see it. And then they call me and they're like, Jacob, I have 14 calls in the next 2 days.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, yeah, don't do that. Like instead of sending it to 30 people right away and do it, send it to 5 and be like, oh, now I have 2 or 3 calls a day and I feel
Right.
like it's chunkable sizes and you have to pull back compared to everyone's like, I have to do this, all of it. And then they're calling me and they're like, I'm too overwhelmed. Oh my gosh, I can't even keep what's straight. And it's like, well, yeah, just pull
Yeah.
back.
Right. Yeah, I think like a good metaphor is like you're gonna tell a new person who's brand new into the gym, they're just dieting, and you're gonna put them on this this crazy diet restriction, you're gonna have them going 5 times a week, you're gonna have them doing all this. What do you think your retention is gonna be for them? Maybe great for the first month, like they'll be motivated, but then like they might get burnt out. So start with 2 days, 2 days a week. Just say 2 days a week, go on a walk or whatever, especially if they're like really
Yep.
big and they
Yep.
have and they haven't been able to do that before. You got to keep your goals measurable. I do the same thing for my patients at work,
Yep.
like I'm not going to start them doing something insane and crazy because that's not for long-term success.
Yep.
And ultimately for us trying to break into this career, a lot of it is, yes, keep your expectations high, but don't burn yourself out.
Yep.
And do that by creating measurable goals, write them down, like do whatever you need to do to make it like in your brain. If things, one thing I've noticed is like if I don't write things down, and it's not in my face or it's not on my fridge or it's not like wherever, I'm not doing it.
Yep.
That intentional New Year's resolution that I had is on my fridge right
Yep.
now, my wife and I's fridge. So we every time we open that fridge, we see it.
Yep.
So like things like that, right? Like those are all measurable, those are all easy to do. It just takes actually doing it. And that's why I think this career, even your course, like It's not for procrastinators. If
No.
you're a procrastinator, get it under control first
Yeah.
and then, get in. But like it's just not there. So you have to, being actionable takes effort and time. Sometimes you need a kick in the butt to do that. And for
Yeah.
me, a lot of things in my life happen that way, and I'm
Yeah.
thankful for it because it kind
Yeah.
of taught me to be like that. So
100%, man. Well, first off, absolutely crushed that. This is my last question I always ask people. Hey, if you could give one piece of advice to every single person, you already gave them some like tips to help them and all this stuff. But like if someone's going to reach out and they see this podcast and they say, no, wow, you hit on so many things. I relate to you. What's your advice to someone who's wanting to break in what medical device sales, whether they have a degree, they don't have a degree, whether they have 4 year, whether they have sales experience, they don't have sales experience, whether they're clinical experience, all that. What's your advice to someone who's like, I want to break into medical device sales?
I touched on a lot of it just a second ago.
Yeah.
But to add, everything in life is translatable, like that you go through is translatable through this career.
Yeah.
You just have to figure it out, be patient with yourself, know why you're doing what you're doing. Like it does start with the why. And ultimately be actionable, put it on paper, and just do the thing. Um, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to wake up at 4:30 a.m. every day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just be actionable, be patient, and be yourself. And also, don't let your own insecurities get in the way. I think that's like maybe that's the biggest thing.
Mhm.
Don't let your own insecurities get in your way.
Yep.
I have my own insecurities. Jacob probably has his.
Oh yeah.
Everybody has their own. Don't let them get in the way because it's just a roadblock for your success.
Yep. And just so you guys know, to that first off, that's great. But just so you guys know, that's one of the biggest things we have to help people is because it's self-sabotage and people do it all the time, right? Because there's a lot of changing of the mindset when you go from a job like when we've had people in our program get hired at $170,000 right away, and they weren't making close to that before that. There's a mindset shift that has to happen because otherwise, if you don't believe you're worth a job for 170 grand, and you see that, you're going to self-sabotage. You won't prepare the way you would do. You'll forget something. It happens all the time, and you might not even know and realize that it's self-sabotage at the moment. Just so you guys know. But that's the biggest thing that we kind of just help you guys see right away, and that's the one thing that's a great point is just everyone. We all have insecurities. But I always tell people when people come work with us, there's always 3 questions I make them ask them. I'm like, hey, do you believe we do what we say we do? Yes. Okay. Do you believe that you'll do the work? Yes. And do you believe that you will get the return that you're looking for? Yes. As long as you can answer those 3, that's logical. That's great. We love it. Everything after that you're going to say is emotional. Just remember, your brain is, what if it doesn't work? What if this is all this stuff? And you can use that in every aspect in a lot of ways of your life. Your brain is not meant to make you grow and make you wealthy. It is literally just to keep you alive and not die. And how does it do that? It shows you all the what if emotional things that can scare the heck out of you and make you have a horrible life. But you're going to be alive during it because you play it safe in so many different ways. But you're never going to thrive. You're never going to get to where you want to go. And so just understand, the emotional side is what keeps most people stuck. And I always say that the difference, because I have family members who live off welfare and I don't. And the reason I'm just saying is I've lived around a lot of wealthy people being a personal trainer in Scottsdale and trained these people. And I always tell people the difference between the wealthy and the people who are poor. And when I say poor, it's like making under $100,000 and barely making ends meet. And again, there's nothing like make your money, do your stuff. It's not all about money, but just transparently. Like I always tell people, if you don't have an extra $10,000 to spend and it doesn't change your life, you're poor. Like you're in not a great financial spot. So change that. And if you don't like me, I'm sorry, that's okay. But like the reason I say that is my friends who go drop $50,000, they're not worried about 10 grand and they're not poor. And here's my whole thing. You call them poor, they laugh because they know they're not. If I say you don't have 10 grand, now you're poor and you get offended by it, well, you only get offended by it if you think it's true. So let me just put that one out there real quick. But the reason I'm just sitting here telling you is the difference between the wealthy people that I see and the poor people that I see is the wealthy people make logical decisions. Those 3 questions I asked you, they make logical. Guess what? They're still going to face all the emotional feelings that you just said. But what if, but they logically know that it's going to work out. But the poor person will be like, oh my gosh, what if it did? What? And they will always stay in emotional and you'll always have an excuse and it will just always be valid. And just so you guys know, it's validated every time by other people, but it's never going to help you grow. And so you have to make the decision, where do you want to be? And so I just say that again, I want you guys to know when we put these podcasts, I just hope they're helpful and they get out there. Don't need anything from you guys. I just want you guys to get these podcasts and they're helpful. Just understand a lot of times people have never done it before and they're not sure how to do it. And what people don't understand is everyone that doesn't make a lot of money, they all try to do it on their own. But then somehow you watch the best professional athletes, the best business coaches, the best everybody, and guess what? They all have mentors. Why? Because they've done it and they can just show you how to do it way quicker. But that's why I just tell people, but that's also the difference. If you want to go and just tell people, hey, I tried by myself and I broke in by myself, because I've had guys be like, I broke in by myself. I'm like, great, how long did it take? And they're like, 2.5 years. And I make $68,000. Great, man. Like, I'm happy for you. If that's what goes. But I just sit here and tell you that's the transparent truth is we don't work with those people. We only want to work with people who want to make 6 figures and who want to grow, because exactly what Noah said is we want people who want to be able to bless their families, have freedom, have a good lifestyle. But also, once you do that and you hit quota multiple times, guess what? You can usually go bless other people. And it's just the greatest thing. And so just put that out there. Noah, I just want to say thank you to you, man.
Thank you.
Congratulations on breaking into medical device sales.
Thanks, man.
So dang proud of you, and watching you at 25 years old change your life, and know that it's only going to go up from here. And this is the least amount of money you're ever going to make, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's awesome. And so I just wanted to say congratulations and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Jacob. Thank you for everything that you've taught me, for being there for me. You've been such an encouragement. Get a mentor, people. This guy's the guy. If it's not him, it's got to be somebody else. Just grab somebody that you can learn from. Thank you so much, man. It's been a pleasure to have a conversation with you today. I feel so blessed. So thanks a lot, man.
Of course, man. And I'm proud of you. And hopefully this was helpful for all you guys. If you feel like it could be helpful to someone else or someone who's a nurse or in the clinical background, please press that like and subscribe, but share it with them. It would mean the world to us. But again, just so you guys know, if you guys are looking, you want that more personalized coaching and mentorship, you guys can always click the link below, and then you guys can always reach out to us. We can schedule a call with us and the team. But I just want this always to be said on here is we are very selective of who we take. We want really good human beings because it only makes the community even better. And then again, going back to that is don't need a dollar from you, don't want a dollar. I made this years ago just wanting to help people, and that's still how it is. It's just because we get so many applicants, I can only help so many people, and we want to work with really serious people who know that they're going to get the return on investment. So again, hope this is helpful. Again, it's all free. Want you guys to have it. If you guys want more information, please feel free. But until next time, keep crushing it, go after your goals, and go achieve everything that you ever want to. See you on the next one. Peace.